Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, The Do's and Don'ts of a Successful Pop-Up. We're happy to see so many of you out here today. Pop-ups are really hot today. It's really becoming a must-do in the retail space. I'm sure you've all seen it. Once you've decided to actually do a pop-up, it's really important to actually do it well. And so today, my name is Stephanie Kidder. I'm the CMO at Storefront. And I have with me today Jennifer Braunschweiger, who's VP of Brand Marketing at MM.LaFleur, and Gabriela Baiter, who's the founder and CEO of Whereabout Studio. So before we get started, I'm going to let each of them present themselves.
I can go first.
I'm Jennifer. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so my name is Gabriela Baiter. I'm the founder of Whereabout Studio. We're an experiential retail studio that is based out of Santa Monica, but also services New York. We create pop-ups and concept stores mainly targeted towards online brands that are figuring out what their retail strategy looks like, whether it's a flagship model or it's a series of pop-up stores.
Jennifer?
Great. I'm Jennifer Braunschweiger. I'm the Vice President of Brand Marketing at MM.LaFleur, which is a clothing company for professional women.
Great, wonderful. So we have a good program today. We're going to be looking at real life examples. So one from Jennifer, of course, who is doing the marketing for a brand who is organizing pop-up stores for themselves, and Gabriela is actually launching pop-up stores for customers. So two different viewpoints, a lot of great on-the-ground terrain experience, as both of them have launched a number of pop-up stores, and it's a big part of their strategy and what they're doing every day. So we're going to get a lot of great information. I'm going to start with this really short introduction of Storefront for those of you who don't know us, before Jennifer and then Gabriela go into their sessions. Please don't hesitate to send us questions in the chat. We will be answering some questions during, but at the end we've left quite a bit of time for the Q&A session. So we'd like to make this as interactive as possible, so don't hesitate to send us your questions. So at Storefront, our mission is really to provide access to premium pop-up spaces on the biggest, largest cities, like retail cities globally. We believe that really, truly, that pop-ups are the future of retail. And as a technology platform, we allow brands to find the best space basically to sell their ideas and their products and experiences to their customers. But we also allow space owners to make their space accessible to brands for short-term retail, which is something that's not very easy to do if you're going to look just to find a space for a short period of time. The Storefront platform makes that easier, makes the whole market more fluid and dynamic. So we are present in globally. We have a very large selection of spaces in a number of large cities in the world, and all different types of spaces. So these can be from retail storefronts to showrooms, rooftops, small spaces. We've even had customers do a product launch in a mobile truck in New York City, or open a flower shop and a stairwell in London. So really a lot of creativity, lots of opportunities and things you can do. Here are some of the cities. We're actually present in over 30 cities, spaces, and that's growing really on a regular basis. But as you can see, we are present across 3 continents and some of the biggest retail places in the world. Just a small little example, some of the customers that we've had who've booked pop-ups through our platform. Very varied as far as also the industry, not just fashion, a lot of tech, experience, service companies, movies, music stars, really just all different kinds of brands. So that's really kind of Storefront in a nutshell. I'm going to pass it over to Jennifer now. And Jennifer, hang on, let me give you control. So you should be able to run the slides now, Jennifer.
Awesome. Thank you, and hi, everybody. As I said, I'm Jennifer Braunschweiger. I run brand marketing for MM.LaFleur. Let's see. I jumped ahead too fast. Stephanie, sorry, is it, which arrow is it?
It should be the arrow down, like on your keyboard is easiest.
Yes, that is not working very well for me.
Oh, good.
Apologize.
No worries.
Well, I will skip that previous slide and talk over it instead. So we offer clothing, styling, and community for professional women. There we go. We are really a very mission-driven company. Our core belief is that when women succeed at work, the world is a better place. And that mission to support women's workplace success really defines everything we do. So it's how we express ourselves in our products with thoughtful details that make getting dressed for work very easy. But you also see it in our retail environment, and that becomes very key. So I think really understanding who you are as a company and what your mission is helps inform all of the work that you do, whether it's in permanent retail or in an online experience or in a pop-up experience. Sorry.
I can move it forward.
Okay, great. So on this one, we meet our customers in 3 separate ways. So our main channel is called the Bento. What happens is when you go online, you fill out a survey, which is all about your style preferences, your workplace environment, your job, what you're looking for, what you like to wear, and then a stylist will send you a personally selected box of clothing for you to try at home. And that is really the main way that we meet our customers. We also have a traditional e-commerce experience. If there's just a shirt you love and want to go buy, you can do that too. And then we have 8 permanent stores, and we do a series of pop-ups around the country, which is obviously what we are here to talk about. Can we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Great. So I think in that previous slide, you saw it was a map which shows where our permanent stores are, and then also about our pop-ups. We have moved, pop-ups have always been a piece of our strategy. So as I said, we're very much focused on styling and that interaction with the stylist and the customer. So from the very beginning, we were doing trunk shows, and then as we have scaled and gotten bigger and national, we continue to really make an effort to meet our customer in person. It's that conversation and the community that we form with her that is so important to us as a brand, and again, one of the ways we express our mission of supporting women's workplace success. So we try pop-ups in all sorts of different cities around the country, and we find that they are an excellent way to talk to the customer and also really to test a region to see, is this a place where we should consider opening a permanent store? So as I said, styling is very core to who we are, and it's very much a part of how we manage our retail experience, whether that's in a permanent store or in a pop-up. So before someone has to book an appointment, that we do handle walk-ins, but the primary source is through appointments. And when you book an appointment, you fill out the same survey that you would fill out if you were shopping online. And when you come to your appointment, the stylist has already selected items from our collection that will work, or that she believes will work for your office environment and your figure. So it's a really wonderful way of navigating the collection. And we bring that experience into our pop-ups, not just our stores. And that is really key. So as I said, that experience of filling out the survey and working one-on-one with a stylist informs our stores and informs our pop-ups. And we have really built a pop-up kind of playbook around making that work. That is not just around the stylist interaction, it's also around the visual branding of the pop-ups, and then around kind of how it plays out in terms of how we present the product. So there are certain kind of visual touch points that carry through all of our pop-ups, regardless of what kind of space they're in. So I went to a pop-up in Seattle not too long ago that was in a photo studio. It had a really different look than other pop-ups that I have been to, but it carried the same kind of visual language in terms of the green couch and the certain kind of dressing rooms and the lighting. And that really allows a customer, whether she's a loyal returning customer or a new customer, to experience the brand in a consistent way. And then once you have that visual playbook set, that's the opportunity then to expand that way. So the brand is coming to life and really talking to the customer. And then we have started, as we have scaled our pop-ups, bringing events to the pop-ups. So we used to open for a week at a time in various places around the country. We now stay for a month, which allows us to host events there. So we do styling workshops at the pop-ups, and it's a way of bringing more of the brand to life. We will also sometimes, Sarah LaFleur, who's the founder, will come and do an event and all sorts of different things, so that we're really engaging with the community in a way that is core to the brand and to our values.
Great.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. A question. So how successful have you been at identifying the potential for a permanent store thanks to a pop-up? Do you find your customers are different in pop-ups or in permanent stores?
You know, our customer, we consider that our customer is really a psychographic rather than a demographic, by which I mean that she shares an attitude and a point of view and a relationship to her work. So in that sense, no, the customers are not different at the pop-ups than they are at the stores, because they all have that same ambitious commitment to their careers. You do see regional differences, however. So when we talk to our customers in Seattle, they're working in a certain kind of tech. When we talk to our customers in Houston, they may be working in the oil and gas industry. We have a lot of women who work in politics in Washington, D.C. So there are certainly regional differences that come out depending on where you are. But there is nonetheless a through line of who that customer is, in the sense of what kind of attitude she brings to her working.
Have you seen an increase in online traffic and purchases thanks to your pop-ups?
Yes, I would say that it's really important these days to meet your customer where she is and to offer a fairly seamless experience no matter where she's shopping with you. So someone who has shopped MM through a bento might then come visit us in person when we pop up at that store. And it's important to us that we're really, she's experiencing the same brand wherever she is. The pop-ups do bring in new customers as well. So someone who stops by a pop-up when we're in her city for a month would then go on to shop with us more regularly, whether that's through the bento or through the shopping bag e-commerce.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Do you get a lot of new customers in the pop-up stores for the first time that haven't shopped on your site?
Yes. You know, initially when we first started doing pop-ups, they were very much a retention strategy. So it was an opportunity for our loyal customers to come back and shop with us in person and have a different kind of experience with the brand. But as they have scaled and as we have really leaned into it, they are also a way of bringing in new customers. So for example, before we pop up in a place for a month, we will do some local PR, we will reach out to local influencers, we may take out local advertising. So it's really an effort to let people in the city know that we are going to be in town.
Mm-hmm. Great. So where's your next pop-up?
We have one in Minneapolis right now, and then we're going to open in Los Angeles soon.
Oh, great. Gabriela, you're in Los Angeles.
Come see us.
All right, so let me move this on. Thanks. Let's move on to Gabriela. I'll let you take control. You have it? Great.
Awesome. Everyone can hear me, right?
Yes, perfect.
Cool. Well, Jennifer, thanks for that little tip, because I'm going to save up on my shopping now that I know that you're coming to LA.
Yay. Yes, I will actually be there. So it will be nice to meet you.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So I have a lot of information here, but I'm going to skim the surface and then definitely want to use the questions if there's any slides on here that you want to dig into. As I mentioned, I am the founder of Whereabout Studio. We're an experiential retail studio based out of LA, but we also service New York. We What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about our studio and our approach specific to digital native brands and how we service them. I'm also going to get into the ingredients of every single pop-up store that I would highly encourage you to think about when building up your pop-up strategy. And then also I'm going to take you through 5 steps that are essential for you to think about when launching stores. So first, a little bit about us. Whereabout sits at the intersection of brand marketing and the future of retail. As we know, some of the best case studies that exist, and Jennifer can definitely testify to this, but they are coming from these digital native brands. So everyone on this call has the opportunity to build the next best thing. So what we try to do is take our background in digital marketing, both at Facebook and Uber, and then some other amazing brands on my team. And we help infuse that with some of the needs that digital natives have and that they're thinking about when trying to launch these temporary stores. So to give you a little bit of insight in some of our work, we've helped a variety of brands, both in the publishing space, the digital platform space, as well as D2Cs. So we've helped Uber, Girlboss, Hunker, all of them think about what their first soiree in retail looks like. We also have some pretty exciting stories coming out for Majori and Attitude later on this year. That is really exciting. So I would say the biggest thing to think about is when you launch stores, you really, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but you really need to think about what problem you're trying to solve. Jennifer, I think, did a really great job nailing it in the sense that she, her team went out and it was a retention play, but they quickly realized that there was an acquisition strategy that they could be taking advantage of with women coming and shopping these pop-up stores. So I will get into this more, but you'll see very strategic problems that we felt pop-ups was a strategic solution for getting after it and solving their biggest business need. So the ingredients of every pop-up store, there is a lot of them, but I tried dwindling it down to 6. The very first one is community spaces. This is an opportunity for, especially if you've been online for the last 1 to 5 years. If you're now thinking about retail, it is the first time you're truly connecting in a one-to-one relationship with your customers that may have been following you since you started. So trying to think about what your community-driven space is, because a lot of people don't shop anymore with the sole purpose of walking out with products. So you need to be giving a ton of value up front for them to connect and choose you over anyone else that they might be wanting to shop with that day or that year. When the space that I have here is Recess IRL that launched in New York City, I highly encourage you to look at it. This is a meditation space that they have in the back, and it's a really great branded experience for them to bring other brands that have like-minded values into the space to really center Recess around a lifestyle and not just their products. When it comes to education, this can happen again in those spaces. So creating hands-on workshops that actually allow people to see how your product is brought to life and how it can, more importantly, solve a problem in their own day-to-day lives. That can happen through a series of panels or a series of hands-on workshops. Revolving discovery, this is a theme that I like. It can go across programming, being events that are happening in your store, which I've already talked about, but can also talk about products and products that you're changing and putting a really strong story during a certain week that your pop-up is open. So this is an example of a showroom that we made. It was a multi-brand experience for Hunker. We brought a ton of furniture brands in that styled out this space. And we used this marquee store fixture at the back of the showroom that changed and was restyled with different products that actually had various stories that Hunker, as a digital publisher, had surfaced on their site over the last year. So it was really this living, breathing space for people to really get a sense of what Hunker was about, but also the products that they put as a central focus within their storytelling. So to the next 3 is urgency. We all know that there is something amazing about pop-up stores because you're giving not only your customers something that they didn't get before, but you're also putting a specific timestamp on it. So to go back to revolving discovery, you want to make sure that you're giving your customers an ability to come back. And that happens through this rotating calendar of events or products that, you're touting throughout the 1 month or the 3 months that you're there. Service design is a big one. I'm definitely seeing a shift in the marketplace between the Instagrammable moments that we saw everywhere to service design. So service design means that you're thinking about your product, MM.LaFleur being perfect. These are spaces for you to think about your lifestyle and how you want to become styled. It's not necessarily a place for you to just shop. So by having a specific purpose for your store, when it comes to services that you're offering, I would highly, encourage you to think about that. This is an example of Casper, where they created an entire space that was focused around a very busy New York City audience taking a nap during the day and really trying to restore their mind. So you come in, you book a 30-minute nap session. You cannot get back the ability for your customers to try your product in a purposeful, intentional way for 30 minutes at a time. And Casper definitely did that. Storytelling, I'm going to skip forward because I have a really great slide in a few slides from now about how you're going to create a retail story about your space and not just a store. So where to begin? The very first thing is to hone in on your goals. We talked a lot about this. These are just a couple avenues that you should be exploring. And it might be a combo of the two. So yes, these spaces are a way to increase sales, but more importantly, it is a space for you to extend your brand story and really build this deep relationship with your customers. Even more so, sometimes there is no ability for someone to buy your product, and that's okay. But what are you going to be doing in terms of collection from your customers? If you're giving them value, are you getting back emails? Are you thinking about generating a slew of social media? Is your space optimized for delivering on that? So definitely, you'll get these slides afterwards, but I would try to figure out what listen to your team and figure out the number one goal, and everything else will fall into play after that. The second is to be realistic about your budget. These are just numbers, so don't get intimidated. There's definitely an ability for you to be smart about your budget as you're thinking through this. But these are just a few of the line items that we always build into every single one of our clients' budgets. So everything from location to entertainment, which is your programming, to your staffing solution, your merchandising and swag. So are you giving a custom experience in terms of the gift bag that they receive, or the swag that they might be getting if they're the VIP customer in the first week that you're opening? Your goal is to make this space very special. And that is delivering on something that you're unable to do as much in an online e-commerce environment. In terms of ways to save, I wanted to put this up front because we've saved our clients sometimes up to $100,000 just bringing in branded partners that were like-minded, not competitive, but were able to donate a significant amount of styling pieces because they didn't have a pop-up environment and they wanted their couch to be sat on by your customers and experienced. So there's definitely a lot of synergy that you can do by bringing in your favorite brands that feels similar to the lifestyle that you're creating in these spaces. Shop takeover is an interesting one. There's a couple of examples of brands. I think Glossier is a great example. When they took over the Ria's Cafe in San Francisco, they just created a really interesting diner experience using a historic establishment, and they rebranded it Glossier for 1 month, and that was part of their story that they were creating. So you don't need to start with a white box all the time. That is 90% of the solution, but there's other creative ways that you can be thinking about your space design. Shop share is splitting the cost in half with a brand, if it makes sense. The third is planning for a location. I'm going to let you guys just sit on this slide for a second, but the biggest things that I want to call out, on the left side, it's on you. So you need to be looking at your web traffic and the data points that you've collected as a digitally native brand or retailer. And you need to be thinking about, are we able to assess what neighborhood we should be popping in based on where our sales are coming from? Similarly, what's your budget? Can you get away with a neighborhood that's further out And will your customers actually go there if it's a compelling enough experience? Target audience, neighborhoods all the time have a target audience associated with it. You know where you want to go or where your customers are coming from. So really just taking some time to have your primary and secondary audience driving the location of your store. On the right-hand side, it's so awesome that we have platforms like Storefront because they provide a lot of this information on the platform. And so, even as an agency partner to our brands, we're constantly looking at those location guides and using it as a way to inform the best place to go. Whoops. Okay. So the fourth is what I like to say, making the magic happen. We are so privileged to be thinking about these ideas for our clients. And I am a little biased, but I think it's the most fun that you'll probably have in terms of your marketing strategy because you're creating this really interesting concept that you're going to see a direct result from when you pop up. So what we like to do is we think about a retail story. It starts with an articulating your brand mission. I'm going to take you guys through an example. That brand mission should define what your retail story looks like. So what does retail? It's a physical manifestation of these elusive brand strategies, and that's really exciting. That story alone has to extend across multiple details in your pop-up environment. So the people, what is the staff called? What are their uniforms? What do they look like? How do they greet you in the store? For product, how is the product styled? What lifestyle are you showcasing? In terms of the place, your job is to create a destination that people want to go. So a lot of times it's not your brand store. It's actually something else that is sponsored by your brand. And that's the urgency and the excitement and the energy that you're bringing to that space. What does it smell like? Really touching all the five senses when thinking about what, details you're putting into your store. And lastly, I really believe that, service design is the new Instagrammable moment. So what services are you offering beyond shopping in your store that gives people a true reason to go? So I take you guys through this, but very high level, this is what we created for Floyd. Floyd is an amazing direct-to-consumer brand. They're based out of Detroit, and they created a series of 4 pop-up stores across the country. And their story was a housewarming because Floyd is all about creating practical furniture that grows with you. And it's truly about the way that people live today. So they wanted to create a very accessible store. We ended up going into a home and inviting people in a way that could experience how people live today. So we ended up popping up in this amazing development in Echo Park that was designed by a famous architect. And it was really about solving the housing crisis in Los Angeles. And that was a very deep, meaningful story that was close to the founder's heart, Floyd. Apologies. When we think about this in terms of place and purpose, again, like really making sure that there's a purpose and a reason behind where you're going, as well as the place and the destination that you're creating. So just flying through this, the very last one, guys, is focusing on insights. So making sure that you're not just launching and then closing a month later, you're collecting the proper information from your customers that's going to benefit you at the end of the day to drive less and less of sales. So MM.LaFleur does a great job at booking an appointment in terms of having that as a data collection point. And we also have Beacon software and clienteling. These are a couple of examples of how you can leverage your store associates to do the data collection for you in a really special way. I hope I'm not over, Stephanie, but that's it for me. As I mentioned, I'm Gabriela Baiter of Whereabout Studio. This is such a cool opportunity that everyone on this call has, and I love pop-up stores. So I hope I gave you guys a little bit of insight into what to do next.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriela. That was really great. Very interesting. Lots of very useful information that you've given us and examples especially. For the people who are listening in, don't hesitate to send us some questions. First is we have here is, do you have tips to draw people in your store that have never heard of your brand and take advantage of the local foot traffic?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so do you have tips to draw people into your store that have never heard of your brand and maybe take advantage of local foot traffic?
Yes, that's a great point. So there's a ton of reasons to do that. I do think that depending on your neighborhood. You can think about other stores in the area and how you can cross promote that area being a destination centered around a certain event. Also having certain really compelling retail displays. There's actually pretty affordable technology that allows your retail display in the glass in the front to be able to be digital, so people can experience something about your brand even when you've closed down. So really thinking about how you're creating these destinations to lure people in through a story that doesn't feel like just another store on the high street. That's something I'd encourage you to think about, but there's also really compelling partnerships that you can create in the area. Let's say it's even the local cafe that's driving people into your store as a next destination on their Saturday is a good way to think about, as long as it has synergy and value for the brand that you're bringing in.
Great. So this one could either be for yourself or for Jennifer. So which do you think is more important, a location on a great retail street or the store, a location on a great retail street or the store itself? Which is worth like focusing the budget on?
I can jump in on that because we have a fairly counterintuitive view of that, which is that our pop-ups are often not storefront. Because we're appointment-based, sometimes they are not immediately findable when you're just walking down the street and not geared toward walk-in traffic. So just kind of putting that out there is another strategy to consider.
Great. Are there any other questions that we have? Anyone out there want to send us a question? That's usually in the chat, or it could be here.
I can add to the last question as people are thinking about their next one. I would definitely, I think it's a matter of the assets that you already have available to you. So if you have a really strong community on social, making sure that you're looking at the demographics associated with that community, or you're leveraging your community if they're not in the place that you're popping up, to promote it with their friends and get their friends excited. So depending on your social media presence or data in terms of the number of emails that you have or the existing customers that you've collected over time, I feel like that dictates how you can drive that footfall to the store. If you don't have those things, then it would be important for you to be investing into a space and then making sure it's compelling enough for people in that area to come in.
Great. Just to let everyone know who's out there before I ask the next question, there are 2 handouts here. You can actually get a copy of the slides for download. And also there's a market report that we published recently on the trends in retail and why pop-up is exploding. Both of those documents are available for you to download in the webinar, GoToWebinar interface. Next question is, how do you create buzz around a new store in a new city?
So we pull on a lot of different levers to do that. So as I said, we will reach out to existing loyal customers we have who are in the area and let them know that we're coming in person. We will host events at the pop-up, so people will come for the event and stay to experience the brand itself. We will also use local PR, local influencers, and really try to activate within the community to bring attention to what we're doing that way as well.
So a good example for on our side was from the founders of Floyd when we launched them as a housewarming pop-up experience for 10 days and then a month in New York. They actually documented the entire, so they used the retail story as their advantage to document them moving across the country with all their furniture to get into the pop-up store, to launch the pop-up store and build it. So depending on your store strategy, I do feel like you can you can tease out what's coming in a compelling way through content itself.
Well, that's great. So I think that's about the questions. The screen unfortunately seems to have gone out, but we were at the end of the slides anyway. Are there any last things you want to add before we sign off?
I feel like we covered it.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. It was really great having everyone here today. We will be sending out links to the recording of the webinar. And as I said, you can download here the presentation, but we'll also have links to those content, which we'll send out with the recording of the video. Thanks again, Jennifer, Gabriela. It was really, really great having you here today. It was really interesting, and I hope that everyone attending enjoyed all the content and the helpful information that we got today.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.